Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to speak on trauma and acceptance. Um, and I'm speaking from experience. Most of the time when I speak from experience, things that I probably have went through or witnessed, or someone that's close to me have went through and I've witnessed. So again, I want to speak on trauma and acceptance. Just wanted to read this quick insert first. This is the book that I've been reading it a while. Shaman Durek, Spirit Hacking. So just wanted to read this quick insert and then we'll go from there. People who are operating in victim consciousness are seeking sympathy and external validation for the parts of themselves they are not willing to love and accept themselves. Because they're not willing to bring love and acceptance into the fold of their own lives, they choose to position themselves as victims to rationalize the hurt and trauma they are not dealing with. And he goes on, basically saying that trauma is not transmuted by pity. Um, the only way to transmute trauma is through acceptance. So I just wanted to read that part really quick. I've been reading this book off and on for some time, but wanted to leave off on the only way to transmute trauma is through acceptance. So this is what I came up with. And again, through just personal experience, I have my 3-step process. Number one is where I analyze. Number two is where I process. And number three is where I heal, which is acceptance. So I know a lot of us, the average person, deals with trauma or have dealt with trauma. And normally trauma extends from your childhood. I don't care if you had a perfect childhood. I don't care if you had a silver spoon in your mouth. It doesn't matter. The point is, trauma normally stems from childhood. We all have experienced some form of trauma, whether it was mentally, it was physically or emotionally. Um, so just coming up and realizing, certain things that were triggers for me, where I would get extremely angry or extremely upset when I finally start knowing, myself, and that's a whole nother topic on shadow work. I realized certain things were triggers for me because they were from trauma that I've dealt with. So it was a trauma response. So instead of me pointing the finger at whomever or whatever, I decided to do inner work to actually, I don't know, I have a problem with certain things controlling me, and the way that I see in the world that I live in mentally. I feel like the only way that I could, I guess, fix in my mind my trauma was taking control of my trauma, which means, again, that 3-step process that I'm going to go over with you briefly on what I do and still up until this day that I do. Um, but yeah, just going back, like I was stating, trauma. So the first thing that I do, I analyze. And what I mean by analyze is when that trauma occurred, because again, a lot of us, we're dealing with trauma from 10, 20, 30, some people even 40 plus years that happened to them, whether it was mentally, physically, or emotionally. So again, the first thing that I do is analyze. I analyze how I felt in that moment when the trauma, that experience occurred, how I felt. So my feelings, my emotions, my behavior, my thoughts, I analyze all of that. Literally analyze how I felt, what was I thinking, how was I feeling, just all of that. So I analyze. The number two, the second thing that I do is process. I'm looking down. I actually wrote some bullet points to actually make sure that I discuss. But number 2 is process. So what I do is I understand and I deal with those emotions, those thoughts, those feelings, everything that I analyze during that traumatic experience. Number 2 is I go back and I process that. So again, the thoughts, the feelings, the action, the behavior, I process everything. I literally process it. Number 3 is heal, which means through the healing process, you accept, meaning you accept the feelings, you accept the emotion, you accept the thoughts, you accept however you felt in that moment of that trauma. You've to the stage now where you're accepting everything. You're not forgetting it, you're accepting it, because forgetting it and you're you putting it in the back of your mind, if something was to trigger you, that traumatic response will still come up. So you're not helping yourself. You're actually hurting yourself more so than helping. So when people say, "Oh no, I just forgot about it," or "No, it don't bother you, don't bother me," that's some BS. Okay. The only thing in my world that I see fit is actually healing through those traumatic experiences. So when something does trigger you, let's say that you have another traumatic experience and then something triggers you, you'll know how to, again, process, analyze, heal. You'll know how to go through those 3 steps to where it won't be 10, 20, 30, 40, some people 50 years later, and they're still dealing with trauma. And again, I'm speaking from experiences. This is it's not something that I've always had figured out. It's not something, no. So it's something that I had to understand, all that great stuff. Okay. So again, it's analyze, process, and heal. Once you get to that third one and you're healing through 1 and 2, you're able to accept the fact, whatever it is that happened. And again, I know some things can be pretty deep, but you finally got to a stage and a point to where you're able to heal through. Because you don't want to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old and you're still holding on to something that has been hindering your life for, X amount of years or decades. At that point, you're allowing that trauma to control your life and control your life. So it's like, I have a problem, that's something that I'm still working on myself, but I have a problem with control, things controlling me. If I feel that I can work on myself, however it may be, inner work, spiritual work, whatever it is that I need to do so I can have control of everything in my world, that's what I do. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick video on trauma and acceptance, because trust me, once you get to that third one, which is heal, your trauma will not control you. Your trauma will not have a place in your life, your world. How you look at things will be completely different from how you looked at previous things before you actually heal through your trauma. So you definitely want to remember, analyze, process, and heal, because trauma does not have a place in your world. Does not have a place in your world. Does not. And the thing about, want to say one last thing, the thing about a lot of traumatic experiences, which I don't feel that one is greater than the next, because your trauma is your trauma. But a lot of times when we have been victimized, the individual, so I'm speaking on certain things, The individual that took you through that experience, it's crazy, but 9 out of 10 times they don't remember, because it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years, it's been 30 years. They don't remember. And if they do remember, they're not sitting thinking about what they did to you to screw up your life. They've literally went on with their life, but they leave us with the trauma, which, yes, I know is some bull. So that's why, again, I had to come up with something that I personally did for myself to let go. I know it's easier said than done. It's not something that you can do overnight, but it takes work. And again, don't allow someone that much control over your life to where they are still controlling you and your relationships 20, 30, 40 years later. No. Hope that you have an amazing evening, a great night, and until next time, have a fantabulous day.